Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Stickbow Chronicles, brought to you by Black Widow Bows. This week we're traveling a long ways. One cool thing about this podcast is you get to reach out to folks you wouldn't normally talk to. This week we're going to South Africa, Johandre. And I said that with the most mixed North Idaho, New England version of that name. You'll hear him say the name, and it's nothing like I just said it. Super cool guy, stickbow guy for a long time over there. And, just talking about what it's like, being a bow hunter, in South Africa. And he does some, I don't know if you call it guiding. He's a PH. He's hunted with a stickbow for a long time. And one of the cool things is, and I remember this coming up the first time I talked to him or messaged him, I should say, he's getting ready to hunt giraffe. I mean, we all have tunnel vision, right? Where we hunt and roam, even if you hunt a lot across our country here, it's still so different. Hunting a giraffe sounds pretty cool. Anyways, I'm not sure a tree stand. I don't think he's using a tree stand. You have to get pretty high. Anyways, I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2021. Keep those photos rolling in. Now, if you follow us on Instagram or if you follow us on Facebook, you just saw me post up a super, super cool photo. Dude's whitetail buck. They had some professional photographer he knows, took a picture of it, and probably one of the coolest photos I've ever seen. Now, don't worry, because when we pick these winners in December, it really isn't photo quality, so yeah. Anyways, get them sent in to ihuntcloseofficial@gmail.com. And, your chance to win some cool stuff from Sitka, Safari Tough, Kifaru International, and Iron Will Outfitters. Big thanks to those companies that sponsor this. And it really is about highlighting what can be done with a stick bow. So get them in. Get them in for sure. Thanks for listening, because if you guys all weren't listening, I wouldn't be talking to people from South Africa. And thanks to the sponsors, Kifaru International, The Footed Shaft, Selway Archery, Backwoods Grind Coffee Company, and, of course, Black Widow Bows. Now, if you like the show, please, please, please subscribe wherever you're listening. Share it up. Tell people about it, because it's, just like promoting hunting with a stick bow. Also, if you like this show, reach out to those sponsors and tell them, hey, thanks for sponsoring the show. And just so you know, this week, I'm going to pick up Rod Jenkins at the airport here in probably a few hours. Looking forward to it. We're going to have a good group of guys, 12, 13 guys come over, and Rod's going to try to clean up. I don't know. Some of the guys are really good shooters. He's got his hands full with me. So, hey, have a great week. Enjoy the show. Roger out.
How are you doing?
It's been pretty crazy here. Let me shut something off real quick so I'm not getting background noise.
All right, great stuff.
Buddy, I mean it when I say it's Africa hot here.
Yeah, we are midwinter, so yeah, it's quite cold. Not that cold. We've got lovely temperatures during the day, but the evenings get quite cold, especially in the mountains here. I'm currently situated in the islands of South Africa, so yes.
Well,
it gets quite cold here as well.
What part of Africa?
South Africa, Mpumalanga province. Mpumalanga is mostly the islands of South Africa. And then when you move off to the Eastern Cape, you get highlands again. But yeah, we are up north, northeast of South Good.
I just pulled up a Celsius to Fahrenheit. What's a good temperature in the daytime in the winter?
About 15 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that is pretty nice. About 60 degrees. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm in northern Idaho, which is typically a cooler. We might hit 100 a couple times during the summer, and gosh, that would be that'd be about 40 Celsius for you.
That's about, it gets about the same temperatures here in summer times. But in the most northern part where I grew up in South Africa, we get 45 to 52 degrees Celsius. So it's quite hot up there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this cat is not built for that. I was dying yesterday. We were at 42 Celsius yesterday, and I'm pretty sure I was going to die. I made it through yesterday. I'm not sure about today. So how do you pronounce your name?
Johandre.
Johandre.
Yes, you spell it Johandre.
Well, we're just going to roll right into it because it's not often that I have a guest that I have not talked to at all. So you talk about just rolling cold. Here we go. So everybody knows you're in South Africa. Are you an outfitter? What are you, a guide, or run an outfitting business?
Yes, I'm a registered PH. I do not do it for a living. I'm actually in the potato industry in South Africa. So what I do is I certify potato seed, and then part-time I'm also a PH. We have our first guest from the States coming in on Thursday, so I'm very excited about it. No, I say we are still very privileged to receive clients, even though we are in the third wave of COVID-19. So yeah,
well, the reason
privileged and looking forward.
The reason I chuckled was because when I was sending you the Zoom invite, it was Potato. My last name is Patudo, and I'm like, "What is this guy joking with me? What's going on?" I never quite seen an email address like that, so now it makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So, what are you typically outfitting for there? First off, what's the name of the outfit?
Okay, we are currently running under one of our friends' outfits, Young Safaris. Basically, what we do is anything your heart desires in Africa, we can get you. We hunt from Limpopo down to the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga Islands. And then we're also looking forward to do some hunts in Botswana and Mozambique next year. So, yeah, that's mainly where we are going to do our elephant hunts and cat hunts, like leopard and lion hunts. Of course, it's getting very difficult to get trophy permits in South Africa for those cats. We are trying to expand our wings outside of the country just to get more places to get trophy animals. But basically anything from duiker right through to elephant, we can cater for.
Wow. So just so the listeners know, you and I were messaging back and forth the last few months. You're a stickbow guy, so that's kind of why you're on here. You're a stickbow guy, but talking a little bit about being a PH over there. Have you guided any stickbow guys or any bow hunters?
Not really. I'm looking forward to start that as well. What I've done is I got some farms, actually from the farmers that I met in the potato game. So what we are doing now currently is we are putting up hides and stuff to cater for tradbow guys. Most of the farms are already catering for let's call it wheelies. But I'm just making the distance a bit shorter, building new hides, putting up tree stands and stuff. Because in Africa, we hunt mostly over water or food, especially in winter times when food are scarce and water as well. So that's definitely in the pipeline. I've got 2 farms that's almost completed. We are already doing hunts with local guys, still with compounds, not trad bows. But yeah, I'm having my first tradbow hunt. Once this hunt with the guys from the States is done, I'll be shooting my giraffe and also some plains game like impala and warthog and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow, I got so much to unpack here. Now, you're saying hides. We're talking blinds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're gonna shoot. You're gonna hunt giraffe with your stickbow.
Yes.
Wow.
I've been planning this hunt for almost 2 years now. So if I can give a a quick run through of my setup, just to bring it in perspective to, let's say, your typical whitetail setup. I'm shooting a 75-pound bow at 28 inches. Then recommended arrow weight is about 750 grains. I'm running a local arrow. It's called Carbon Core, and the brand it's Carbon Core African Hunter, 250 spine. Then I'm running double stainless inserts, hidden inserts. It's basically the same insert you use on a Eastern Axis, with a footer on the arrow, and then I'm running a 300 grain grizzly stick Ashby broadhead in front of it to bring me to a total arrow weight of 950 grains.
Wow. That broadhead, is that a single bevel, double bevel? I'm not familiar with it. It's a two blade.
Yes, it's a two blade, single bevel broadhead.
Yeah. And if I'm looking away, it's because I'm looking at my phone doing. Trying to go metric to standard.
No problem.
Now, let me ask you this. Like, here's a dumb question. What's from the ground up to the bottom of a giraffe? You know, like the bottom, the brisket there. How high are we talking there?
I'm talking in foot. I would say about 6 foot, 6'2" maybe.
Oh, is that all?
So yeah. You basically. A 6-foot person can fit between its front legs. So it's not that high, but the shoulders are quite high. And we preferably don't shoot from blinds. I'll be doing it walk and stalk because of the angles from above. You have massive ribs to go through. I'll personally prefer a frontal shot, because there's a little bit less bone. You don't have to go through ribs and everything, especially with trad gear.
So when you say a frontal shot, I imagine they're pretty wide across the front. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I guess in comparison to an elk or something like that. I mean, you're probably looking at a few feet across from shoulder to shoulder.
Yes. If I have to compare it to something, I would say probably a bison size. If you're talking about the width yeah. of the shoulder to shoulder. And the only thing you have to look out for with a frontal shot is the two scapular bones from the front, because they are pretty prominent, but there's about the size of a basketball that you can shoot through from the front. There's basically just skin, flesh, and then heart, lungs that you eat.
What would you... What do you consider? What kind of distance? What's your maximum distance you're going to shoot at this?
Well, I'm comfortable out to, let's say, 35 yards, but preferably I would want it inside of 25 yards. Say, yeah. I think at 25 yards, I'll be pretty sure of my shot, and I think there's less that can go wrong, especially with a stick bow at that distance.
Man. So I imagine their shoulders would be really, I bet they're big boned, heavy boned critters.
Yes. Quite big boned critters. And other problem you face with shooting giraffe, if you compare it with, say, a bison or an elk or something, the vitals is very far forward. On most African animals, the vitals is a bit more forward. Usually when I watch videos on YouTube of guys shooting whitetails with stick bows and stuff, and they recover the whitetail with a shot that looked too far back for me, which would have been too far back on an African animal. And I'm going like, wow, how the hell does he get that deer?
Well, I say that,
but it's just
when I say videos, like I say that often too, like.
Yeah. So I know it's a big animal to harvest, a giraffe, to get back to that, but it's completely doable, even with a bit lighter tackle. The problem in Africa is they don't know what stick bows are capable of doing, so they stick to the old rule of 80 pounds with a compound and, let's say, 750 grain minimum on the arrow weight. So yeah, but we both know what stickbows are capable of on game animals.
I'm going to apologize to the listeners because I'm going to be all over the board. I was going to ask you about the legality of bow hunting. Where are you at on that? They allow stick bows, but what is what's the criteria?
Okay, the criteria for most plains game, that includes animals from impala size, let's say up to nyala size animals. You have to have an arrow weight of at least 450 grains and poundage of at least 45 pounds. So I think that's basically the same as with the whitetails in America.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And then when you go up, like from kudu, blue wildebeest, eland, they recommend 550 grains and let's say 60 pounds of draw weight. And then for dangerous game, we actually had they changed the law a bit around hunting big game. You are still allowed to hunt buffalo and giraffe with a bow and arrow. If the arrow weight is 750 grains and you are shooting at least 80 pounds, unless you can prove that the bow is capable at lower poundage and still getting enough kinetic energy to kill the animal humanely. And then the other thing that we now have to do is we have to take out special permits to hunt giraffe and buffalo with a bow. So if I get a client from the States, I have to, me as the outfitter has to apply for a permit, let's say 2 months ahead of time, just to get that permits in order so that it's legal to hunt buffalo.
Man, have you had a client hunt buffalo yet with a bow?
Yes, with compounds a lot, not with stick bows.
Yeah.
Not with stick bows yet, but I'm looking forward to guiding someone that's willing to hunt buffalo with a stick bow.
When's your season start? I'll be there. What's been your experience with compounds, buffalo? I'm assuming you're seeing different setups. Gosh, yeah, I got so many questions. What's been your experience? Pretty good penetration?
Yes, well, most of the guys, we'll recommend arrow weights, poundage and everything. But what I've seen is if you take bow hunting in general, if you go 10 years back and you take let's say the technology that we had compared to today's bows and arrows that you get, especially compounds. 10 years back, you had to draw back 85 pounds or something to get penetration on a buffalo. Now, we just had a South African lady shoot a buffalo with 62 pounds, still shooting heavy arrows. I think her arrows wasn't around 900 grains, and she almost had a complete pass-through. So,
wow.
If your equipment is right for the job, I don't see any problems killing buffalo, giraffe, or anything with any type of bow. Yes, and more and more people are starting to hunt buffalo with a bow, especially local guys as well. They were always skeptical about bow hunting buffalo, and now it seems like all of my outfitter friends, they hunt 2 or 3 buffaloes with a bow each year. So it's becoming more common. I think as equipment gets better and they see that bow hunting isn't just about wounding animals, they they do it more and more. So yeah.
It is frustrating because to the uneducated, bow hunting can get a bad rap. Like you're sticking a sharp object in a critter, and it doesn't sound real, effective. But man, I mean, anybody that's bow hunted for any length of time at all, the lethality is phenomenal. I mean, yeah. Local supplies. You're saying local bow hunters. How big is bow hunting? Just to the everyday person out there, archery in general.
Well, I must say it's getting pretty big. Compound bows have been around, I think since the 80s, before I was born even. It's a big part of South African, or a big part of the South African hunting community.
Oh, cool.
I would say about 50% of rifle hunters also doing bow hunting. We have loads and loads of bow hunting competitions, and what I've lately is the traditional archery community is growing. Even horseback archery is getting bigger in South Africa. So yeah, I'm looking forward to growing the sport. I'm not into competition shooting yet with the trad archery. I've been hunting trad bow since I think 2007.
Oh wow!
When I made the switch to trad bows, but I'm excited to see the sport growing, and it has grown a lot. I think, especially traditional archery, in the last 5 or 6 years have grown so much that it's not strange to see a guy shoot a traditional bow anymore.
What's driving it over there? I mean, is it just the again, we both probably have tunnel vision, so I look at it from the States. I mean, I see what's going on in the States. What's driving it there in South Africa?
Well, I think.
Don't tell me Aaron Snyder. I don't want to hear that he's like all the way over in Africa. His head will just blow up. We won't be able to find a hat big enough for him.
Well, what I think is getting more guys into archery. It's getting very difficult to own firearms in South Africa.
Oh, interesting.
You can't just walk into a firearm shop, buy a rifle, and have a permit in 2 weeks' time. It sometimes takes up to a year to get your firearm license. And then if you are a new firearm or if you're a new firearm buyer, you will have to go through competency testing and everything where they physically test if you can handle weapons. And that takes about a year on its own. And then you have to when you buy your first firearm, you wait another year or two before you can go hunting with your own firearm. So I think that's what's driving bow hunting in South Africa. You don't need a license for any bows or arrows in South Africa, so it's easy to come by. Although components are not always freely available for bows, especially trad bow, for the trad bow community. But yeah, I think that's the thing that drives archery in South Africa, just because it's easy to come by.
So now, where you live, like the town closest to you, how many people, like how big of a town we're talking about? And I'm curious, like, do you have a pro shop? Can you just go and buy pretty much what you need, or is it all mail order?
Well, I live the town I live in is called Breitenbach. I think the population is about 10,000, so it's not a big town. We have a little shop, but you always wait for stuff, especially arrows. Even the local made arrows, carbon is a big problem to get into South Africa at the moment. I don't know why. I think it's because of the pandemic. But if you have one, like single bevel broadheads was, there was nowhere that you can find single bevel broadheads. Stuff like Rage or Muzzies, Thunderheads, those are the common broadheads that you get in every archery shop in South Africa. But if you want, let's say, a new compound bow or some arrows, you'll have to order it, and it will be you'll be getting it in 2 or 3 days' time if they have in stock. So yeah, the stock is a really big problem in South Africa, even when it comes to arrows, bowstrings. The guys started making their own bowstrings now for a while now, but yeah, components are very difficult to get, especially in the archery community.
All right, what throw out a couple of names that are bow manufacturers that are common or popular over there.
All right. There's not a lot of traditional bows that comes from the state, but the normal bows you find in in the States, will find in South Africa as well. Matthews, Bowtech. What else is there? Bear archery bows, Martin bows. So all the big names, I think you can go to all the big names bows in South Africa, but you'll have to pre-order or wait for a bow, or the newest bow that you guys have on the shelves will be here in 6 or 7 months' time. So you're always behind with a bit behind the technology in South Africa.
That's understandable. That didn't sound too out of the. What about stick bows? Like if you run into a stick bow guy, is there any being built there in South Africa, or what's?
Yes. Well, All my bows are made by local bowyers. We have quite a few good bowyers in South Africa. One of them is Pierre de Wet or Uncle Henk. And then there's other guys in Pala bows caught up just now. So I try to support the local bowyers. It's easier to come by. You wait about 6 weeks for a guy to build you a bow, and it's much cheaper than importing, say, a White Satori or a Black Widow. One of my dream bows is a Black Widow, but it's just too expensive for me to import a Black Widow to South Africa. So I'll rather support a local guy, and they also make fantastic bows.
Yeah. Wow. So getting back to hunting, what critters have you killed? You've been shooting for quite a while. What critters have you killed with a stick bow?
Well, almost everything, except for the giraffe and elephant. But yeah, everything from warthogs, impalas, duikers, kudu, eland. So I shot basically all the plains game. Even shot the bush pig last year. That was my first bush pig that I shot. So basically everything, all the plains games, except for I think the one thing I just have to shoot is a roan and then a sable bull. Then I'm done with the plains game with the trad bow.
Those bush pig are pretty tough, aren't they? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are pretty tough, and they call them the ghost of the darkness.
Yeah.
They are very skittish. If they catch or smell, they are gone. I think for that specific, and it was a sow that I shot, I think I sat 14 nights before I got the blind positioned. I used a double bull blind, and I think I sat 14 nights before I got it positioned for a shot on her, because she kept smelling me every night. So they are very skittish, very wary, and it takes months to get those guys on feed.
You're hunting over water?
Yes, we hunt over water. Sometimes I also do walk and stalk hunts, but it's very difficult. Usually when we do walk and stalk hunts, it will be in summertime when all the trees has got leaves on and the brush is thick, and so it makes it a bit easier to walk and stalk.
So 14,
but in winter time.
So 14 nights in a blind waiting for a bush pig. I bet you see some pretty cool stuff though. And you're using some sort of a light system?
Yes. What I do is if I bait the bush pig, I'll start it off on rotten maize basically, or a rotten carcass, and then I'll remove the carcass and just then I put a normal feeder, like I don't know what you guys call it in the States, but the auto feeder on.
Yep.
And I'll give them, or I let it sprinkle maize for about 2 or 3 times during the day. And then usually just after dark, they'll start coming in if you have them on bait. So usually what we do is if we start the bait off with, let's say, a rotten carcass, we usually tie it to a tree, because we had leopards on our baits, we had hyenas on our baits. So it's quite nice to see those critters walking around your bush pig blinds. Yeah,
I'm thinking. So a bush pig would be attracted to a rotten carcass? They'd eat on them?
Yes, they will basically eat anything they can get.
Nasty things.
Bush pig and warthogs, they just love rotten carcasses. They'll even eat their own if they die. So
sounds like our pigs. They're nasty.
They are quite nasty, and they'll literally eat anything. And the bush pig is a big problem for the farming community as well. They destroy the crops. I think they can be accounted for about 3% yield lost every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then I'm assuming there's no. This is going to sound stupid. I'm assuming there's no public land, right? So anybody that hunts there has got to have permission. You're all hunting ranches or farms.
Yes. Well, there's a little bit of public land left. But it's very, very limited public land. And what they do is they give out concessions. So, they give out concessions for a certain number of animals per year that can be harvested. And then what outfitters will do, they will basically go and be on the animals and buy it from let's say the state, or they buy it from the state, and then they get clients to harvest it. And then mostly of the most property that we hunt on is privately owned farms. And those farms, if they want to have game, they'll have to, if they want to hunt game, they'll have to have what we call exemption. And that's just a document that gives them permission to hunt during winter times. And you get some of the farms that have exemption for summer and winter times as well. That's where when we do trophy hunting in summer, then we only harvest bulls, and we call it a ram, like impala rams and stuff. So and then some of the animals like warthog and blackback jackal and bush pig, you don't have to have any form of permit or anything to hunt them, because they are seen as predators, or what we call it. What's the right word? Let me just get the right word. Pests.
Pests. Yeah.
Yes.
So the state owns the game, and even if it's on private property, the state owns the game. They manage the game.
They manage the game. Wildlife. We have a wildlife for life department that manages the game, and that's just they don't own the game. It's privately owned, the game, but you have to get from wildlife. You'll have to get permits to say, you are going to harvest, let's say 5 impalas, 10 wildebeest, and 20 kurus this year with clients. So you'll have to inform. It's basically informing wildlife that that's the amount of animals you can harvest on your farm sustainably. And then if you harvest animals, you also need a transport permit in South Africa. And that's just the reason for that is just to prevent poaching, basically.
Yeah. Is poaching an issue? A big issue?
Very big issue in South Africa. Not necessarily poaching with guns, but poaching with dogs, snares, stuff like that, especially in our like in the Kruger Park and parks like those. They have big problems with snares and poachers that poach rhinos and stuff. That's why I think you'll know about the problem we have with rhino poachers in South Africa. So yes, it's a big problem. There's a lot of privately owned game ranging companies that help fight this. Some of the farms of rhinos will have guards 24/7 on the farm or in the camps where the rhinos are situated. So yes, poaching is a very, very big problem in South Africa, and it's getting worse by the minute.
Really? Well, I mean, I say that I'm not surprised, but I guess talking to somebody that's right there is fascinating. Is it the state who's patrolling for them, or and how is is it a private group? In the state-owned game reserves, we have the state patrolling them, basically game rangers. They will patrol the borders, but parks like the Kruger National, we've got a lot of Salati private game reserves, stuff like that. What they'll use is they'll subcontract private companies as well that supply rangers to help them, because the area to cover is so big. So yes, there's a lot of most of those guys that's game rangers that's doing the patrolling is also PHS or young PHS that doing we call it just the basic year, get some experience in the African bush. So yeah. So, and then to come full circle, like we all know, it's the hunting that pays, it's the fees that hunters pay for enforcement of game laws and patrolling for poachers then, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned dogs. How are you poaching with dogs?
Well, what they basically do is they chase down the animals. Because our farms are mostly fenced, high fenced farms, the game farms. What they will do is they'll come at night with dogs like whippets and bloodhounds and stuff like that. They usually use packs of 10 or 20 dogs, and they'll just chase the kudu or impala until it's tired, and then they'll do is if the dogs don't kill the animal, they'll take a sharp object and just punch it, basically like a spear, or hit it with something on the head. So it's very cool.
When you're talking kudu, what are they poaching them for? Ooh, I think I lost them.
I think
there you go.
There
you go.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
Oh no, I just made sure the kid wasn't on the internet. But well, we can put up with these kind of. We're communicating a long ways. We can put up with this. So you mentioned they're going to run packs of 15, 20 dogs, and they're going to tire the critter out, and then they're going to punch it with a spear. But what are they poaching, those types of animals for? The kudu you mentioned, is it for the horn, for the meat, for the hide?
Well, mostly for the meat. As you know, South Africa is the poverty rate in South Africa is very high. So it's expected of a country like ours.
Yeah.
There's a lot of poverty. So, the people, it's really tough living here. And yes, they do it for a living. If you don't have food on the table, you'll hunt rabbits or whatever to just get some meat and feed your family. So that's basically why it's happening. Well, and that's why when we get clients from overseas or we have excess meat, we try to distribute it, especially when there's big game hunts like buffalo or elephant that can feed 5 or 6 families for a long time.
So 15 or 20 dogs, that's a lot of dog food or what, upkeep. Maybe they're selling the meat.
Yeah, some of them will sell the meat. I think the shape of the dogs are also really bad. It's not like your family pet that you have there. They have a tough life, those dogs. If you go on the internet and just look at pictures of African dogs, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's all over Africa. The whole of Africa's got a problem with poverty. So it's from the top of Africa right through to the bottom. Yeah. Where poverty is a problem, they use dogs to hunt. Stuff like that.
So when you have excess meat, you know people that you're giving it to, or is there some kind of organization you just bring it to and they distribute it? How's that work?
Well, what we usually do is we still have chiefs and stuff. If we talk of the native tribes that live here, they still have chiefs among them. So what we'll do is we'll go to a local village and distribute the meat in the village, or he will distribute the meat. Especially where we are hunting public land. They'll say, okay, most of those meat must go to the community, and then they'll take it to the chief and they'll distribute it within the community.
Meat care is a big thing here, for like September. So September here could be pretty warm, and, you kill an elk and you're working hard to keep it cool. It always amazes me when I see, videos, African videos where, you might kill a Cape buffalo or, something big, and they got these quarters and they're throwing it in the back of a truck. How do you guys care for the meat? How do you cool it? I look at the massive size of some of these quarters and think, man, how are you getting the heat out of that?
Yeah, well, most of the outfitters are just using cold rooms. They usually have big cold rooms. I'm talking big, especially in South African, or the guys that cater big for South African hunters as well. They have big cold rooms. Because in South Africa, we are privileged to, we are not limited to one whitetail tag or something. You can go to a privately owned farm and shoot 5 impala, 7 kudu, blue wildebeest, whatever you'd like, and stock up for the whole year with wild game meat. So usually most of the outfitters or game farms, they will have cold rooms. And then what we'll do is we'll basically hang the whole carcass for 5 or 6 days. And then from there, we will transport it in what we call It's back. It's like a cooler bag made from canvas with insulation stuff that we put on the back of our trucks, and just put the meat in there until you arrive home and take it to your local butcher to make some biltong and still cut some steaks out of the meat and mince meat and everything. So that's basically how we care for it. I think higher up in Africa, they just immediately distribute the meat to the local community to prevent it from going bad as fast as possible, or basically the same day. And they only keep the hide of the animal and the wounds. They'll preserve that for the taxidermy to stuff the animal.
Lost my train of thought. I was just writing down a note. What's your favorite game animal? Are they all like pretty dang good? Cape buffalo, kudu. What's your favorite?
Well, my most favorite animal to hunt, especially with bow and arrow, is the blue wildebeest. They don't call it the poor man's buffalo for nothing. It's a very tough animal. Even with a double lung shot, it can go very far. One of my friends I took him on a blue wildebeest hunt. It was his first bow harvest, and we actually walked 6 kilometers after his blue wildebeest. He shot it with a high double lung shot, and it kept going for, I think it was 6 kilometers. That's about 3.5 miles.
Yeah, after a double lung hit?
Yeah, after a double lung hit. High double lung hit. And even if you only hit one lung, a blue wildebeest is capable of going very, very far.
Wow. Holy smokes. They don't appear to be heavy boned. They are heavy boned, heavy hide animal. They don't appear to be.
No, not heavy boned at all. With the trad bow, I shot blue wildebeest with 45-pound bows and 550 grain arrows. They are not hard to kill, but shot placement is key on a blue wildebeest. If you mess up on a blue wildebeest, you'll have a long day ahead of you, or 2 or 3 days ahead of you. Wow. Maybe you'll end up killing it with a rifle at the end, because of that. And I can't tell you why it's so tough, but it's just one of those animals that's bloody tough.
I imagine everything's tough in South Africa.
Yeah.
And you feel pretty confident. You're shooting 2-blade broadheads all the time on all game.
Well, yes, that's mostly what I can find in South Africa. I had a client bring me some of those grizzlies a couple of years back, and then the normal stuff that you can find is VPA broadheads, 2 blades, and sometimes you'll find some stingers or something. But most of the time I shoot 2-blade broadheads. I haven't found any 3-blade broadheads yet that's heavy enough for me to try, because I usually use 200, 300 grain broadheads. And the other thing is, because I'm using those heavy broadheads, we don't get those weight field points in South Africa often. So I usually have them made by a guy that's got a turntable or something, or a mill, just to have to tune my arrows on that. So the broadheads is a very, like I said, rage, and those broadheads are very common in South Africa because it was mostly compound shooters in South Africa, so they cater with the most common names of broadheads and those broadheads that everyone wants to shoot. So I think the biggest problem, or the biggest components to find for trad archers in South Africa is broadheads, and then heavy inserts, stainless steel inserts, stuff like ethics archery inserts and those kind of stuff. It's very hard to come by in South Africa.
So, like I said, I apologize to the listeners, but there's just so much to get to here, all over the board. What about, you got quite a little talker back there. How old's the little one?
The little one, the boy is about 7 years old now, and the little one has just turned 2 in December. Yeah, she's 2.5 years old.
Oh, she sounds like a talker.
Yes.
So, what's your favorite game to eat?
Well, favorite game to eat, reed buck. I don't know if you're familiar with reed buck. That's the best tasting venison. And then bushbuck as well. But to make biltong or jerky, I love shooting impalas or a kudu cow or two. And then what I usually do is I shoot about, for kitchen meat, I shoot about 6 kudu cows per year.
Wow.
Which we use for mince and steaks and stuff like that. And the main thing with African animals is you have to prepare it correctly. They tend to have a bit of a wild taste to them if you do not prepare them correctly. But I think the best meat by far is reedbok. It's not that common in South Africa to shoot. They are mostly found in Mpumalanga and Natal Islands. But it's got some of the best tasting meat. And then we also have fallow deer here, which I butcher like a sheep if I can get my hands on one.
You mentioned a jerky. What kind of jerky is it?
It's basically dried meat. It's a bit, I don't know how you guys make your jerky, but we usually put soy sauce and not soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce and brown vinegar, and then we have a blend of spices and stuff that we put on the meat, and then we leave it for about 3 hours, and then just hang it up to dry.
Yeah, that's the same. That's the same. I thought you had a different word for it.
Yeah.
So jump into elephant. You've mentioned elephant a few times. Have you guided elephant hunts?
Yes, I have guided elephant hunts. That was my last elephant hunt was a few years back. Actually, this year we are looking forward to doing some elephant hunts again. When it comes to elephants, I have shot elephants myself as well, but it's not one of my favorite animals to shoot because it's a big animal. It's not easy to get, especially if you have an old clever bull that you follow for 3 or 4 days to get a shot on it. But it's one of those animals that I don't feel, actually one of the only animals I don't feel comfortable shooting myself. I don't have problems hunting them with clients, but it's just one of those things that I will not do again.
Is it an emotional thing or?
Yeah, I think it's more of an emotional thing. Because of elephant, I don't know if you know, but the elephants, the lungs are not attached or are attached to the I don't know what they call it in English, the diaphragm. Yes, diaphragm.
Yeah.
So if you shoot the elephant with a long shot, it usually takes a few shots to get it down. But what we do as PHs, if we see the animal turning, we advise headshots, or we try to get close enough for headshots. And then if we see the animal is going to run off, we usually put in a backup shot or anchor shot, which is usually a shot at the back of the animal or in the knee or something like that. So I think it's a very stressful hunt for the animal. I've done it. Got the badge. I won't do it again myself, but I don't have problem guiding people.
Yeah, no, that's legitimate.
Getting them to shoot their first animal.
Yeah, that's legitimate. And are you doing like cull hunts? I mean, everybody gets attached to these critters. Is it the elephant is causing problems with the farmers, or is there just that many of them?
You get a lot of that. There's many of them. What usually happens with those elephants is because those elephants, there's no high fence that will keep elephants in. So what usually happens is, especially up here in Mpumalanga, near the Mozambique border, the elephants, there's a lot of sugarcane farmers there. So what the elephants will do is they'll come into the sugarcane fields, break through the fences, go back. And they usually do it at night or early mornings. They'll break the fence, go into the sugarcane, then the farmer will fix the fence, and it will just do the exact same thing the next morning or that evening. So what usually happens then is there's 2 ways to go about it. Or the first way is you can get local rangers to come to apply for a permit to shoot the elephant, or you can apply for a permit yourself. But it's basically a permit for problem-causing animals. And I think the 2 animals that causes them, or the 3 animals that causes the most problems is elephant, buffalo, and lion. Because usually what the lions will do is if they get too old to catch impalas and other critters, they'll go to nearby villages and start catching dogs and sometimes people or donkey or livestock or anything anything like that. Any easy meal. So that's a big problem. And then what buffaloes will usually do is because the people have to go down to the rivers to get water for the houses. Usually what happens is a buffalo, there will be an old dagger boy that will just terrorize the villagers going down to the water. So yes, there is problem causing animals like that. And I would say it happens more often than most people think.
We had a little delay there. So when you say
yes.
When you say harass, the dagger boy harassing him, like it's just aggressive?
Yes. When a dagger boy gets old, it gets aggressive. So what will happen is that you will see the villagers going down to the water, and then it will just mule them or chase them off or whatever. They get very aggressive as they get older. Even herd bulls. I think buffalo is one of the more dangerous hunts in South Africa. I would say it's more dangerous, except for leopard. I would say it's the most dangerous hunt to do.
I'm all over the place. Elephant meat. How's that? What's that taste like?
Well, it actually tastes quite good. I didn't have much elephant in my life, but when those that I did have, it's basically like beefy, not completely the taste of beef, but the grain is a bit more rough. The grain of the meat is a bit more rough, but it doesn't taste as wild as, let's say, impala meat or something like that. So yeah, it's quite good. If it's the only meat I have in the bushes, then I'll eat it.
So a deep red, a lot of I don't know. I'm assuming it tastes like chicken. We'll just say it tastes like chicken.
Yeah, well, most people say crocodile tastes like chicken.
Now, going back to the wildebeest, now tracking them, how many kilometers did you say? 6 kilometers or the double lung hit?
Yes.
Man, you got to be a pretty good tracker.
Yeah. And what happened with this specific blue wildebeest was the heat was very high. It definitely caught lung because there was bubbles all over the arrow. And then what we did is we tracked it for, I think it was about 300 meters. Then we turned back because then the blood stopped. And we marked that spot. And then we went back and got the dogs as well.
Oh, there you go.
Because of the terrain. The terrain gets from very sandy to very rocky, very fast in the part of South Africa that where the wildebeest was shot. So there's times that you completely lose the track of the animal. And that's the time when we use the dogs. And when I say dogs, it's basically a bloodhound or blue tick or Jack Russell Terrier that we use as a tracker.
So what's your next hunt?
Well, I think my next hunt will be most probably will be a wildebeest or a kudu or two that I'll be hunting myself. And then later in the season, I will definitely shoot that giraffe. I'm not completely happy with my arrow setup at the moment. I'm still doing some fine tuning. When I mean fine tuning is getting to base shaft with a field point and flex shafts to fly great and everything. So yeah, I'm leaving that hunt for a bit later. I'd say at the end of August, I'll be doing that hunt again.
And that's going to be, you called it walk and stalk or something. That's going to be
yes.
Yeah. Are they pretty keen, pretty tough animals to get up on?
Yeah, they have a pretty long neck and they can see from way above the trees. So yeah, it's very difficult hunting giraffe on foot. But it's basically, you can hunt them from heights, but when they have a drink of water or something, they usually bow. edge forward and they just close the kill zone, and it's an awkward position. So I prefer, and when we do giraffe hunts with compound bow guys and everything, we do walk and stalk hunting. I think that's the ethical way, if I can say that, to hunt them.
Yeah.
But if you take time, you get your wind right, or you use early mornings just before daybreak, and you know where they are sleeping, it's not that difficult to sneak up on them. And I mean, with a compound bow, you can take shots of 40, 45 yards with ease on a giraffe. So it's doable. It's doable. It's going to be hard with the stick bow, but it's 100% doable.
Wow. Now, when you're walking, stalking, and out in that country, moving around, how big a threat are lions, leopards, that type of thing? And do you carry a backup or anything?
Well, it depends on what part of South Africa you're in. If you're up in Limpopo, where it's lion country or leopard country, leopards are distributed almost everywhere in South Africa. But it depends on what part of South Africa you're hunting. Lions don't really roam free anymore on the game farms, private game farms. If there's lions on the farm, there are permanent lions to keep by the owner, or they have escaped from one of the game reserves nearby. Leopard roam all over, but the chance of walking into a leopard in South Africa is almost nothing.
What about him walking into you? What about him walking into you?
Yeah. Well, leopard will usually run. If he sees you, he will run. So it's not a big problem for me, leopard or lions, when we do walk and stalking, especially on the farms where I'm hunting. Up north, there's been a few times that we did walk into leopards. I think last year was the one when I was making bushpick blinds. I left everything, my pistol, everything in the bakkie or in the truck, and then I just had a casual walk upriver just to see if there's any signs of bushpick feeding, and then I walked into a old leopard male. Luckily, he just turned and ran away. He just gave a grunt and then went off. So usually what leopard will do is they will warn you and just run off. So it's not that big of a problem, leopard, I would say, except if it's a wounded leopard. Then it's a bit difficult. And then we usually take at least 2 or 3 riflemen with us to follow up on a wounded leopard, because I would say that's the most feared hunt if you have a wounded leopard that you have to follow up on in South Africa.
What caliber guns are we talking?
Well, anything from 375 H&H with 375 Ruger up to for 505 Gibbs. That's the most common calibers. I think in South Africa, the most commonly used caliber for dangerous game is the 4581 Mac. So that's what most PHs will carry.
Wow. Have you guided any bow hunts for leopards or lions or anything?
Well, no, not on lions, yes. A couple of years back, but not leopards. I think there's very few leopards taken by bow in South Africa because you have to shoot them on height. Whereas a lion, you can still stalk lions into bow ranges and shoot them from foot. Leopards are very difficult. You have to get them on bait, and it's also special permits. We only get awarded 50 permits of 50 permits to hunt leopards in South Africa per year, and then there's specific zones where those leopards must be hunted.
Now, you're stalking a lion. How does that work? How are you spotting them, or what are you looking? What are we doing there?
Well, usually what we'll do, if you know the lions are around, we will patrol the dirt roads in the early mornings. Then you'll see where they cross during the night, and then you take the spoor from there and follow them up until you get within range.
What time is it there? It's we started at 7 a.m. here. What time is it there?
Yeah, it's about 5 p.m. now.
Yeah.
Just after 5 p.m.
Getting dinner ready.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I'm assuming when you're tracking a lion, he knows you're back there, right? I mean, at some point, he knows you're
Yes,
there.
yes. Yes, well, he will definitely know at some point. You'll realize, listen, there's something following me. I don't know what it is, but he'll know, yes. You'll find out very quickly that you're following him. And they cover great distances, and then they'll rest mid-afternoon. They'll usually rest under the trees. So that's why we start from early mornings to catch up with them and maybe catch them under a tree where when they see you, they will get up and check you out and see what are you doing. And that's when you get your opportunity to take a shot at them. Usually it's mid-afternoon that we get shot at lions.
So you're going to shoot an alert animal. What's generally their reaction? Are they running off? Well, are they standing their ground? Or
usually they run off. It depends if there are more than one lion. And then what I can see from experience is if you shoot male lions, if you take the shot, they'll run off. But we had a couple of female lions that we shot with the bow and arrow. That if the moment those arrows hit her, she just fully comes and full-blown charge.
Really?
Storms at you.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So we had that with the female lions. They are more prone to charging than male lions. I would say about, if you have taken about 80% of female lions will charge. If it's bow hunting. Rifle hunting, it's different. They'll run off as well. Male lions usually run off when you hit them. And then if you see it's a good shot, you'll give them some time and then move in about 45 minutes if you know it's a good shot. Or otherwise, if you know it's a bad shot, the PH will try to get in a second shot, or you'll try to get your client to get in a second shot with the rifle or bow if it's possible. So yeah, and on lion hunts, we are usually two PHs backing each other up as well.
So when they come, like you're saying, a female's 80% chance she's going to charge. Is it a bluff charge at all, or are they just coming to eat you?
No. If you hit the lion, she'll charge. If she is coming, what they'll usually do is if you find lions in the wild as well, especially females lions, they'll give mock charges. If you are not hunting them, they'll give mock charges and stop right in front of you and move back or whatever. But once a female lion is wounded and she's charging you, you must know it's time to shoot damn accurately or you have trouble. Yeah. So, females will usually not warn, even males, if they charge, you can know it's a full-blown charge on a wounded lion. There's no mock charging if they are wounded.
What's an average female lion weigh?
Well, I'd say about 180 kilos, and the male's about 200 to 300 kilos. That's about, I think, 600, just over 600 pounds.
Holy
if I'm correct.
Christ. Man, yeah. That's a lot of tooth and claw.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're pretty dang accurate under stressful situations with that rifle.
Yes, you'll have to be. Otherwise, you've got problem. And just to bring it into perspective, the paw of a lion is about a large male lion is about 15 centimeters across. The paw of a big male lion. For leopards, it's about 12 centimeters across. Wow. So it's big claws or big paws with big claws on them that's coming at you.
Dang, man. Wow. What do you have to do to become a PH? Is it pretty extensive?
Well, okay, so in the old days, what you had to do is a 10-day course where they teach you the basics of being a PH. That's tracking, shooting. When you do the course, you have to come prepared to shoot, or you have to be a good marksman already. But you do shooting under high stress situations, simulated high stress situations. You learn gestation periods of animals. You learn animal behaviors and stuff. And then once you were done with that course, you had you were basically an apprentice under a veteran PH for a year or two before you were licensed to be a PH. Nowadays, it's a bit easier. You still have to do that 10-day course, and you'll have to do it's like a dangerous game guiding course. That's basically they teach you how to shoot, where to shoot animals, and then you also have to get hours. But it's not taking years to get your PH license anymore. I would say if you have a young guy that's really committed to becoming a PH and he's already completed his course and he just wants his hours, if he plays his cards right, he can do it within 5 or 6 months. He can have his own license. But then from there, if you want to become out for these more courses and legislation to follow to open your own business or hunting safari business.
Well, how do they simulate the high stress shooting drills?
Well, usually what they do is they give you time and they place targets of buffalo or whatever at, let's say, 12 yards, 20 yards, and 30 yards. Then you'll have to shoot 2 shots on the 30-yard target, one on the 12 and one on the 10 or whatever, or on the 21 and on the 12-yard one. So they try to simulate that. And what some of the guys do as well is they have moving targets. Basically what it is, it's a life-size target of, let's say, a male lion mounted on like a cart that's pulled by a cable at almost the exact speed a lion will charge at you. So they try to keep it interesting and stuff. Yeah, it's basically like a moving target on a archery mat at the archery match. It's basically what it is. Except it's just paper shooting.
And then the instructor standing on the side screaming, "I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die!"
Yeah, exactly like that. So they tried to make it high stress situations. I was lucky. I grew up. One of my friends, they've got a company called Echo Ranger. So we went with his dad on numerous of occasions since we were very little. I'm talking preschool. So then we went with him. They lived in the Kruger Park. So we had interaction with buffalo and elephant from a very young age. And his father is very, very good at field guiding and PHing and everything. So we had our own personal trainer, if I can see. Yeah, we had our own personal trainer very early in life to teach us stuff about the wild, especially about dangerous game.
As we start to wrap things up, what would you tell people over in the States about hunting South Africa? And you know, if somebody's thinking about it, what advice would you give?
Well, I think it will be hunting anywhere in Africa. It will be an experience of a lifetime, just like it will be an experience for me to shoot a whitetail or elk or something. But if they have to give them any tips, I would say just get your equipment ready. Whether it doesn't matter if you're shooting bow or rifle hunting, contact your PH, contact your outfitter, make sure your equipment is right, and don't be afraid to come around to Africa. Africa isn't that wild. So yeah, most people think from other countries the lions are walking around the streets of Pretoria or somewhere, but it's not like that. It's a nice experience, and you can hunt anything in Africa that you hunt with your whitetail setup. 45 pounds with the correct arrow weight is adequate for most of the African critters, except for, I would say, maybe eland with 50 pounds would be more than enough to hunt eland, blue wildebeest, anything. So when it comes to trad bows, I think a good all-rounder would be 50, 55 pounds. If you are a bit older guy, you can even drop to 45 pounds. That will be just fine.
Yeah. Well, man, I sure appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. No problem.
Really going to be interested. You say August you're going to be hunting giraffe.
Yes. I'll be hunting giraffe, and then I think in 2 weeks' time it's my first trad bow hunt of the year. to harvest meat for myself. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'll share my photos and experiences, and I'll be taking video this year. So I'll share that with you guys as well.
And what's your handle on Instagram?
Sorry, say again.
Your Instagram handle, if somebody wants to follow you on Instagram?
It's Stickbow Hunter SA.
Stickbow Hunter SA, South Africa. Well,
yes.
I'm not even going to try to Johandre?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, man, I got it. I stink with names. I stink with names. Well, hey, bud, been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure as well. I hope we can have a talk again sometime soon.
Yep. All right, man. You have a great evening.
You too. Thank you so much.